Welcome to the Power of Purpose with me, Anton NM. It's another day of inspiration. There is a thought I want to share with you. I once watched this young man who used to be very strong, had his life going on, was fine. And then suddenly one day he was driving and he had a very terrible car accident. And he was then paralyzed from the legs up to the waist. And he couldn't walk anymore. And he got out of the hospital and luckily he was alive. But being alive and living are two different things. Today we have a lot of people who are alive but not living. I want to share with you a concept that life is for the living. Life is for the living. As this young man began to battle in life, you were walking, finally you were healthy, and then suddenly you woke up one day because of the accident, you can't use certain part of your body. And this young man thought, I still have my head, my brain, my hands. And he had developed a skill. And this skill, he would make traditional African baskets with his hands. And through that, he got help to begin to export these traditional African baskets to Europe. And tourists and other people and other companies started buying from this young man. Now, he could have just let everything slide and say, you know what, I didn't ask for this, now I'm disabled. But as people say, disability is not inability. So he thought, I still have the brain, I still have my hands, I can do something. Tell you the story is that this young man went ahead and became successful in life, more than full-body abled people around this community. Actually, this is a shocking story. He started employing people who were they could walk and they have everything, and started working for this guy. And he shared his story and he says, somehow in every tragedy there is advantage. You just have to look for it and find it, and it will work for you, and you can build from there. And the lesson I learned is that he was now more successful and achieved many great things that maybe couldn't have achieved while he was fully abled person. Now, life is for the living. What I'll tell you is that the first element to live life for the living is that compete with yourself every day. Don't compete with people. You get lost. You get lost in the illusion of what other people think and stuff like that. But I would encourage you to say, compete with yourself every day. Get better. Read more books. Develop more skills. Whatever that you are passionate about, every day see that you do a little bit better compared to yesterday. I think self-competition is the greatest platform at which anyone can build themselves and their skill. And that you need discipline. Because self-competition, it's a very interesting, it's a little bit different from competing with people. And often subconsciously, when you are competing with someone in a game, you you want to win, but you're also motivated that to be better than the next person. You're motivated to be better than the next person. What happens when there's a day comes when there's no one to compete with? Then you're no longer having the motive. You're no longer having the courage. So I would say, develop an attitude of self-competing, self-competition, competing with yourself every day, every week. Ensure that if you did, 1 kilometer, ensure that by the next week you can do 2 kilometers. If you have finished your grade 10, push yourself further, finish your grade 12, and then go to college and look for money. Do that every day, try to do better than you did yesterday. Very, very important. That way, when you are competing with yourself, you will find yourself laughing, enjoying. I do a little bit of gymming here and there. When I did 10 sit-ups yesterday, I want to do 20 tomorrow. After a week or so, I want to do 30, 50. Every day I need to add up. That is self-competing. And it's hilarious. It's great. Because I don't have pressure from anybody else. I have pressure from within. The second element that is very, very important that will help you, it's comparison. Again, it's a little bit different from competing. I want you to begin to compare your steps, compare your notes, compare your thinking process. Sometimes when you're doing comparison is to look at your mistakes of yesterday and you don't want to do them again. Say, okay, I did that, now I did this is better. So you begin to compare where you're coming from to where you're going. Now, when I'm saying this is a very tricky, because comparison with your yesterday's failure to your today's success, it gives you the heart of gratitude on yourself. You give your pat on your back on yourself. Because I can see there are those of us who are so hard on ourselves that every time you beat yourself so bad because you only think of negative, bad things that you have done. You don't take time to consider that I might have done 1, 2, 3 wrong, but I've done 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 that are good. So take time to say, I have made some progress. I have made some progress. So it's very, very important. One of my mentors says this to me. He says, Tony, you need to ensure that as an author, somebody that writes books, you grow in your language. If we read your book 3 years ago, by the time you write another book, we need to see that your vocabulary has expanded. We can't be reading the same word, the same sentencing structure, the same repetition of errors and here and there. No. So they say to me, if you don't grow, then stop it. Don't aspire to write books. So I push myself. I ensure that I grow in my thinking. I grow in my thinking. I grow in my vocabulary. I'm trying to push myself now and then. So now I can do comparison of notes. I can look at my recordings I've done 5 years back to now. Okay? To say, okay, that is the mistakes I was doing on the stage, on the camera, but this is where I've improved. So I'm doing comparison for progress sake. So I'm doing it from the positive mindset, from the progress sake. So you build yourself, the tenacity to compete with yourself. Now you develop the comparison for the sake of growth and for the sake of moving forward. The other thing I would tell you to live the life for the living, avoid compromise. Do not compromise. Do not compromise. Do not compromise your values, your ethics for anything that is temporal. You have values, ethics, and principles because you want a certain level of success. You want to go far in life. So you can't compromise that for the sake of temporary pleasure. Most of us, we have dwindled on the cycles of mediocrity for a long time. Your mates have way gone far beyond. Why? Because you keep compromising. If you look at anything that is not adding value to your values, do not settle for it. Anything, be it a relationship, be it friends, family, be it a place, a workplace, something you are doing, if it's not adding value to your values, do not compromise. Do not compromise. Okay. So compromise is dangerous. You want to live a life on standards. And anyone that comes along into your team, into your life as a friend, romantic relationship, mutual friendship, they need to ensure that if you are at 7 out of 10, they should build up themselves to that level. Don't bring yourself down. In the long run, you're going to be very happy. Life is for the living. Life is for the living. You want to ensure that you are happy and progressive. You want to ensure that you are happy and progressive. Live the life for the living.